NRI Wellness brings you the latest health and nutrition information, creates customized nutrition programs, and walks you through the process to ensure your success.
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. This is another episode of our wonderful, wonderful podcast, The 10 Dimensions of Wellness. And as always, we have another inspiring story to share with you today. Today's guest is Jeff Marconette Jr. And Jeff is an author, an inspirational speaker, and he actually has an inspiring story that would actually blow you out of the water, but I'm not going to tell the story. Jeff's book is called Making Every Second Count, and Jeff is going to tell us why it's important to make every second count. So Jeff, tell us how you got to this point, who you are, and what your wellness journey has been from this point.
All right, well, thank you. I'm very happy to be here today, Cammie, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. But my name is Jeff Marconette Jr. As she has said, I am the award-winning international Make Every Second Count speaker. I am an author. I am kind of a coach, not a lot of a coach, and then I'm also a youth mentor, and I hold a place in my heart for the youth of this country, for the youth of the world, and it's very important to me to help them set their life up on a very strong foundation. Now, you see, when I was a kid, I had loving parents. I lived in a nice house in a nice neighborhood with a bunch of other kids, and we all played sports all day long, every day. It didn't matter what the weather was like, we were out doing something, being active. And it's a shame that kids aren't like that now, but that's another story. Sorry,
No, you're fine. I can edit all of this.
All right.
You can start back at the point where you said it's a shame that kids aren't like that now.
All right. It's a shame that kids aren't like that now, but I understand that they're inside and they want to stay cool in the AC. In fact, I love the AC. I don't know what I would do without the AC. But like I said, I was always playing sports. I was all heavily involved in all kinds of things like that did with sports. And then one day when I was 17, I was junior in high school, on my way to lunch because we had open lunch. And I was sitting at a red light, changing my music, and a friend behind me actually honked at me. And I don't know if you're like this, Cammie, but I have a lot of friends that like to mess with me.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we were in high school. People were pranksters all the time.
Yeah, and they like to make other people look stupid. But so when I had a friend behind me honk at me to tell me I could go, I just looked up and made sure the light was actually green. And it was, so I pulled up without thinking, without looking. Big mistake. You see, when I pulled into the intersection, a semi-truck decided to run the red light. And he never actually hit his brakes, so the cops could not tell how fast he was going. From that accident, I suffered a traumatic brain injury, a broken jaw, 2 fractured ribs, a punctured lung, a ruptured spleen, and a broken neck. Now, I was left unconscious for 2.5 months, and they actually had to use the jaws of life to get me out of the car because it was so smashed up. Now, I then had to go to the big hospital in my area, and that is about 45 minutes from my house. And they couldn't get the helicopter that day because the weather was kind of bad, and they had all the helicopters out on other crashes and things. So luckily they had a mobile intensive care unit, also known as the MICU, that came up, and it travels in an ambulance, and it's the same crew that's on the helicopter, just in a mobile version. And they got me down there rather quickly, and then I was just there in the hospital, and I was in a coma, so I didn't know it. But you see, I had friends, I had family. In fact, my parents never left my side. One of them was always there at the hospital. They made sure that I was never alone in that hospital. And I thank them every day for that. But I like I said, I was in a coma. So I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't see the pain in their eyes. I couldn't see what they went through when the doctors told them that I might never wake up.
How long were you in a coma, Jeff?
I was in a coma 2.5 months. And I I wasn't there when the doctors told them that even if I did wake up, I might never know who they are again. Or I might never know who I am again. Or I might never walk again. Or I might never talk again. Or I might never eat again. Or I might never drink again. Luckily, I wasn't there for any of that. I was there, but I wasn't truly there. And they started me on physical therapy and occupational therapy and speech therapy and recreational therapy. And let me tell you now, if you've ever been through therapy, it's not fun. It's extremely painful.
Yeah, it stretches you mentally and physically.
Yes. Have you been in therapy?
Yes, I'm a cancer survivor, and I've actually had to do physical therapy because of some of the surgeries that I've had. So yeah,
How long were you in therapy?
for 6 months.
All right. Now, add about 18 years on that. And that's how long I've been in therapy. And I still do it now. It's very important to me because I want to be the best me I can be. Because I know that my story and my experiences in life can help other people in their life, in the situations that they're going through. And it is very important to me. In fact, I go to the gym 5 to 7 days a week now, and often twice a day. And when I'm there, I don't just lollygag around. I actually do stuff. And I do things that I don't know that a lot of people would have believed that these things would be possible now. But I've learned that people are going to give you permission to quit. In fact, a lot of people will give you permission, tell you that things are hard, that they tried this and it didn't work for them, so it's definitely not going to work for you. But the good thing is, while they give you that permission, you do not have to take that permission. It's you that is in this fight, not them. It's up to you what happens. And it's very true that unless you give up, you can't be a failure. You might fail along the way, but you can learn from each of those times that you fail. And if you learn from each one of them, are you truly failing? I think not. But it's just so important for me now that you guys know that you can make every second count. And yeah, something might happen in your day. Something might happen to you. But you only have to let that affect you for that one moment. Those few seconds. You have the gift of letting things go. And it's just, I don't know. It's wonderful that I went through this because it gave me the knowledge to actually get this stuff. And it showed me that I can help other people. I can save other people from having to go through what I went through to gain the knowledge that I gained.
Oh, that's totally awesome. Tell us a little bit more about you. You've had some setbacks that you've had to overcome, especially with your disabilities. What are some things that people misunderstand about you?
Well, first of all, that I thank you for bringing that up, Cammie. But I have to say, first of all, that I don't have disabilities. You see, disabilities is a term that I don't like. I prefer different abilities.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Okay. So you're taking the negative portion of that word and dispelling it and utilizing something to make it a positive thing. I love it. I totally do. And I apologize for even saying that.
No, you're fine. It's not your fault, but I need to change the world. I need to express the way I feel about things because I work with a group called Project Search now. And a lot of the kids are differently abled and they have all kinds of things wrong with them. But I was talking to them one day, and this one kid in the class, his name was Glenn, and he played basketball. And I looked at him one day. We're sitting there with all the other interns. That's what they call them, not students. But we're sitting there with every other intern. And I asked him, "So, Glenn, you play basketball, right?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Are you good?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you play in the league?" He says, "Yeah, I play in the league at the, I forget where, but he played in the league." And I looked at him again and says, "Glenn, I don't play basketball. I'm unable to play basketball. And even if I was able to play basketball, I wouldn't be good enough to play in a league. So does that make that a disability?" And he looks at me, his eyes lit up, and he says, "No, that's a different ability that I have that you don't have." And it's just awesome to see the light in his eyes, the knowing that he could do something that I couldn't. And that made him feel good because he's been told that there's things he can't do. he has been told that things aren't going to be possible for him, he shouldn't even try. But they are possible. They might be different than mine. They might be different than the ways pros play, but he's still out there doing it. And I can't do it. So that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it is. I can't do it either. So, I love the way you explained that. I love the way you actually broke that down. You will have me utilizing that different ability versus disability. I think that is that right there in itself is a teachable moment. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes. And if I don't know, do your viewers have any kind of space that they can put in comments or anything else?
Yes, they actually once we air the show, the viewers can actually leave comments, they can leave information, they can actually ask questions. But don't forget, also listeners, you guys can join us in our Facebook group, the 10 Dimensions of Wellness, and you can post on the wall there any questions from any of our shows. They generally leave comments under each show, and they'll actually, if you're not in the group, Jeff, you should join the group as well, because they'll get in touch with you from that group also.
All right, that's awesome. But I would like your listeners to do me a favor. I would like hashtag different abilities in the comments below, in the comments on the side, in the comments above. It don't matter where the comments are.
No, how about we start a hashtag different abilities? I'm going to use that when I actually post this this podcast. When I do all of my marketing for this particular show, I'm going to use that hashtag different abilities as well. So that now we'll just start a hashtag that is just generally running different abilities, so that we can share it with other people, and that we can educate them on what that means, and we can get people to share their different abilities and their different ability stories as well.
Right. Sounds great to me. I've gotten Ambassador Dr. Clyde Rivers involved with different abilities. He's actually using that term now, and that is pretty darn cool. He is one of the co-founders of Global Voices of Change, and he is the founder of I Change Nations, which is the world's leading initiative for starting civility in the world. So that's pretty cool. I think that he got on board with the different abilities too. And he got on board with it when we were in Guyana together. And Guyana is in South America. We were speaking at schools all over the place down there. Wow. Amazing.
So, Jeff, tell me, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your wellness journey, and how did you overcome them?
All right, my biggest challenges, let's see. I mean, like becoming able to walk again, that was one of my biggest challenges. That was one of the things that I struggled with the longest. And like I said before, I've been going through therapy now for 18 and a half years. And at every stage that I got to in my walking, even the first one, when I got into the wheelchair, and I had just gotten out of my hospital bed, I had just came out of the coma. They told me that this is amazing, Jeff. You're out of a coma. You're out of a hospital bed. You're in a wheelchair. You know, you can quit this therapy thing anytime. People live every day in a wheelchair and they're happy. I said, yeah, you're probably right. They probably are happy. But I'm not in a wheelchair. So I continued to fight. And I got into walking with a walker. And they again told me that I was out of the hospital bed, I was out of the wheelchair, I was walking with a walker, that I could quit this therapy thing anytime. People lived every day walking with a walker and they're happy. And I just looked down and said, yeah, they probably are. But I'm not. So I got to walking with a cane. And they were all surprised and all excited and cheering me on. And they're like, Jeff, this is great. This is probably the best you can expect. You know, you can quit this therapy thing anytime. People live every day walking with a cane and they're happy. I said, yeah, they probably are happy, but I'm not. So I continued to fight. I continued to go to therapy. I continued to do all my exercises. I continued to go to the gym. And after a while, I got to the point where I started walking on my own. And they were extremely shocked. They said, most people give up before now. And isn't this great that you can finally quit this therapy thing now because you're walking unassisted? I said, yeah, that probably would be a good thing. But no, I'm not quitting now. You see, I want to run. And I am going to run. There's going to be nobody out there that is going to tell me that I can't run. Because like I said before, you give yourself permission to quit. And that's what holds you back. Because nobody else has the right to tell you that you can't do something. That is your right and your right alone. So it's very true that there have been a lot of those times in my life. There's been a lot of things that I've struggled with, and another one is writing. In fact, while I have written a book, I can't actually write. You see, I was right-handed when my accident happened. And my right hand shakes really bad when I try to do things very fine. So when I hold a pencil, I just shake and I draw all kinds of squiggly lines. And it's not good. But I have taught myself to kind of write left-handed, which I can sign left-handed, but I don't really write left-handed well at all. And I don't know if you've ever tried to write left-handed and being right-handed, but it's not easy.
I imagine that it's not. But here's the thing. The fact that you've been able to almost teach yourself how to rewrite with the new hand, not even with the hand that you originally started writing with, is inspiration within itself. Let me ask you this. While you're out here speaking to people and when you're out here telling people about your journey, what are some of the excuses that you hear people say? And how do you help them overcome those excuses to be more positive in their wellness journey?
Well, I experience a lot of people that tell me that they're overweight because they can't get to the gym. They don't have time. And I like to say to them, no, it's not that you don't have time. It's that you don't prioritize your time because you don't think that if you were healthy, you'd be able to enjoy that time with your kids a little more than you do being overweight. I experience a lot of excuses like that. I experience a lot of excuses of people saying that, well, I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money to get on the internet. I don't have the money to get on webcam. I just don't have that kind of money. I tell them, you can go to the library and get on a computer that has a webcam. And streaming on Facebook or StreamYard or even Zoom is free. You're just not doing it because you have a limited mindset. The limited mindset really hurts a lot of people. They don't see the things that they can do. They only see the things they can't do. And it's so important that we look at what we have and instead of what we don't have, and what we can do instead of what we can't do.
You are absolutely right. There are so many people out there defining themselves by their limits and not by their capabilities. So I totally agree with you on that one. Tell us about a time or a person that you've met where they said that your story has actually inspired them.
I actually got an email from a guy that listened to a podcast that I was on a while back. And he said, I needed to hear this. I was involved in a serious car accident too. And they told me that I wouldn't be able to do some of this stuff. And I just accepted that. And I shouldn't have just accepted that. Because when I say that you have the permission, you have everything inside you to do something, but somebody else might tell you you can't do it. That is only you that has the responsibility to follow through with it. And it's on you that you have to do it. And you can't rely on other people all the time. You have to take responsibility for your own life. And I don't know, I just find that to be awesome that he sent me that, because he said for a while he was actually thinking suicide would be a better way out. And he said my story helped him. My story showed him that there are possibilities after something life-changing, that the dreams that I had at the time of my accident are different than the dreams I have now. But my goals at that time are different than the goals I have now. But the thing is, I still have goals. I still have that drive. I still have that determination. I'm still going to make it happen. I'm just going to make it happen in a different way. And instead of giving up, he let me speak life into it. And that feels absolutely amazing.
I was going to ask you how that made you feel. Yeah, that has to be just an amazing feeling to get an email, someone telling you that they were actually contemplating suicide before hearing your story. That's really amazing. So tell us more about some of the people that you meet on the road. What are some ways in which people have said that you touched them unexpectedly? I know you do a lot of speaking gigs, and I'm sure you hear the positive feedback from your story, but what are some of the things that you weren't really expecting to hear that you've heard?
I'm gonna need to think about this. I wasn't expecting this question.
See, that's a good question. That's one of those thinking questions.
Well, I mean, I go through all the experiences about people saying that they'll never give up because things are possible beyond what they know right now. But things that I didn't expect.
Like, has someone ever shared a story with you? And it can be positive as well, where you've changed, your story has changed their life in such a manner that you would have never expected that your story would have ever done that for anyone.
I'm not really sure about that.
That's okay. We can circle back to that one. So let me ask you this. Tell me a time when you've been on the road and you've had to talk yourself into, maybe you were having a bad day or one of those days that we've all had. How do you talk yourself into being the motivational speaker that you are? How did you talk yourself into continuing to move forward, continuing to do what you had to do despite the feelings that you were feeling at the time?
Well, that is a fantastic question. And I am actually reminded when you asked me that of a day at the gym where it doesn't have to do with motivational speaking at all, but it involves me being the motivational speaker and not wanting to do something at the gym, and just having one of those days where you're like, blah, like I don't want to do this today, and I had to walk off by myself for a minute, just say, come on, Jeff. This is your responsibility. You have to do this. Nobody else is going to do it for you. You have to do it. And I just talked to myself for a few minutes, and I was like, you're supposed to be the motivational speaker, and you're letting things drag you down. You're letting things get in your head. And I eventually popped out of it, came out of it, and I went back to working out. And I actually had one of my best workouts that day. But it almost didn't happen. You see, there's times in our lives that we are going to have to talk to ourselves. We are going to have to take a minute and pull yourself out of that funk. And I actually had a virtual event called the Get Up Virtual Conference, and it was on Facebook, and it was the third one I had done. And it was during quarantine, and I didn't get all excited about it. And that's not me at all. I just kind of dropped the ball with this event. And in fact, we had a lot less viewers at this event. But I spoke to him when I was on the event that I was going through a funk. That funks get everybody at one time or another. And you're going to have to reach out for help when that happens. And that's what I did. And I'm actually having my 5th Get Up event, which is going to be called the Unity Summit, and that is October 4th. And it is a free event on Facebook, and there's going to be 8 total motivational speakers.
Wow, you have to send me the info to that event so I can post it not only on my social media sites, but also in our 10 Dimensions of Wellness group, so that others can know how to register and be a part of that event. That sounds super dynamic. Please make sure you send it to me because I want to just sit in on it just to be a part of it. That'd be so cool.
Not a problem, but the best part of it is it's a free event. And there's no registration. So you don't have to enter your email address. You don't have to enter your home address. You don't have to enter your phone number. You just come to the event. You just take what you can from the event. You grab those golden nuggets. You just learn as much as you can, and it's free. How can you complain about free?
I know it's free and you don't have to do any work, no registration or anything in regards to it.
Yeah, correct. It's completely free. It'll be on Facebook and it should be shared on my page. But if not, it's in the Be the Change network on there. If you search Google for hashtag Be the Change, one word, you'll find it.
This is a 2-second nutrition tip. Today's tip is develop at least one new stress reliever. Instead of a bowl of ice cream or an alcoholic drink, treat yourself to a bowl of tasty exotic fruit. Or take a long walk someplace pretty, like the beach, or go meditate in the forest. Enjoy an afternoon out with your best friend or lover. Let me know how it goes. This has been a 2-second nutrition tip.
So, Jeff, you have 2 books that you've authored. Tell us first about the first project, Live Your Best Life, Answer the Call.
Yes, that is actually a collaboration book, and there's many other good authors in it. I'm not sure how many off the top of my head, but I know they have powerful stories, and I urge anyone out there to read that book and gain some knowledge just from people's experiences and lives. But I got involved with that because I am involved with the Black Belt Speakers and Dr. Ruben West. And I was scheduled to go to his first event that he had in Bloomington, Illinois. And like 5 nights before I was getting ready to go, I started getting this pain in my stomach. And I had no idea what was wrong, but I just said it was my appendix. So I went to the emergency room, and told the nurse there at the front desk that I think my appendix is acting up. And she looked at me like I was nuts. Like, how do you know your appendix is acting up? So they sent me out to the waiting room, and eventually, after they called me up there to check my vitals and stuff, the, I was getting in more and more pain. And they sent me on back to the actual emergency room, and the doctor came in and says, well, your appendix is getting ready to burst. We have to get you in surgery. It's like, yeah, I know. I tried to tell her out front, but she didn't want to listen. And when that happened, they told me that I could no longer go to this event in Illinois. I was all bummed. I already had my plane ticket. I already had the tickets to the event and everything that way. And I told Dr. West that all this had happened. And talking to him now, he said that he just thought that it was going to go by the wayside, that I was just going to let it go and he'd never hear from me again. But 6 months later, when he was having his second event in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is right outside Atlanta.
Oh, I'm very familiar with Stone Mountain, Georgia. I am sitting in Stone Mountain, Georgia as we speak.
Really? That's pretty awesome. But when he was going to be having his event there, I found out about it and sent him a message right away. And he said, yeah, your ticket's still good. All you have to do is get your flight. I was like, well, sounds good to me. I went and got my plane ticket, took off for Stone Mountain, Georgia, and hung out with these people the weekend, and it was awesome. I was just so taken back by the whole thing because the event starts every morning by you walking through a line of people and giving them all a hug. And places, it's not like that. I mean, the world's not really like that, especially now. But even before, it wasn't really like that. And I was taken back, and I in fact didn't want to do it on the first day. The second day rolled around, and I was all excited to give everybody hugs. I'm like, yep, I'm in with the cool kids now. I'm giving all kinds of hugs. But I actually got an award that day, and I won the Sharing Your Voice Award, and it was really cool because I wasn't a speaker at that time. And you see, he said he saw something in me, that he saw that my story was able to touch lives. My story would someday even possibly be able to save a life. And I didn't know that, but then like the last thing on the second night down there, he explains that he has an opportunity for us to be co-authors in this Live Your Best Life Answer the Call book. Now, I had no idea what I was doing, but I said, I want to be in that book. I want my story to affect lives. I want my story to make an impact on the world. And then Sunday, the last day, came around, and I got to speak there at that event. First time I'd spoken to a crowd, and it was amazing. And after that, I got to come home and tell my mom that I was going to be in this book. And then that was on like the 13th of October, 2016. On the 21st of October, 2016, my mom actually passed away. And when we were in the room with the viewing, what do you know it? But Dr. Reuben West walks in. You know how freaking shocked I was that a guy I had met less than a month ago for the first time was there to support me on that day. And ever since that day, I said, I'm going to support this man. This man is going to be my mentor. This man is going to be my teacher. I'm going to speak to the world. I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change lives. I'm going to make a freaking impact. Why? Because he had the wherewithal to actually show up for me when I needed it. And that was pretty amazing. And when I released the book, the like 6 months after I decided to do it, it was just amazing. I wish my mom could have seen it, but I know she did see it. Just not, she didn't get to see it through my eyes.
Well, she got to see it. She just didn't. She wasn't physically there for you to see her see it, but she definitely got to see it.
Yes, that's what I meant. I just couldn't figure out how to say that exactly.
That's awesome. I love that story. And I think we all need to actually go out and get a copy of Live Your Best Life, Answer the Call, because it sounds like there are some really inspirational stories in there. So let's move to your latest project. This is the one that has me super excited. This is what you have going on right now. Make Every Second Count. This is a 1,500-hour journal. So tell us all about this one.
All right. Well, this book was actually designed for kids 11 through 19. Now, I say it is designed for kids 11 through 19, yeah, but it'll work for anybody. It will help people get more of an attitude of gratitude. It will help people gain perspective on things in life. It will help people set up long-term goals in life. And it's so amazing. But I wrote this journal with the help of Dr. Adria Luster from Atlanta, Georgia. So not too far from you. And then Dr. Reuben West is actually the foreword in this book. But I wrote it because I saw that a lot of kids out there, a lot of teenagers out there are going through things that they just don't have the tools to handle. They don't have the foundation set up in their life that they can handle those adversities. And it shocked me when I learned that suicide is the second leading cause of death for adolescents 15 through 19 years of age. And I wanted to do my part in changing that. I wanted to let them find out that there's more to life than what they're going through. There are things that are more important that they need to realize. Like, they have arms, they have legs. I know it sounds weird when you say it out loud, but it's so true that we have all these things that certain people in the world don't have, and a lot of them are happier than we are.
And that's very true. We actually have to learn that we have to be grateful for the things that are present in our lives at this moment. And that's actually how you get more. That's how you create miracles in your life, is by showing gratitude for where you are at this moment.
Yes. And the whole book it's designed in 9 weeks. It's 1,500 hours, and it is 1,500 hours because that is the amount of time that I was in a coma, basically. Now, the first week in this book is on gratitude. The second week of this book is on dreaming big. And there's all kinds of things in this book, like the 7 lessons I learned from reading this book. The I want to help people realize their potential. So that's another section. Another section is developing habits that count, that will make your life better. Another section is on serving others. And it's just amazing when you can teach somebody these simple things that are going to help strengthen that foundation, because you don't build a house on a weak foundation. You don't do that because it's going to collapse. It's going to crumble. But so why are you building a life on a weak foundation? I think that this is something that every student should have. I think this is something that every parent should provide their student with.
I
Their
couldn't agree with you more. I think this is, I actually think you should be submitting your book to some of the school systems around the United States, just so that that's actually a teachable lesson, especially in this day and age. We've seen a lot of suicide ideation, a lot of, just dealing with that age group with teens, an increase in mental instability, an increase in issues around, just coping with regular everyday life. I think that book is a serious asset.
Well, I'm definitely hoping that it is a serious asset. I mean, I was scheduled to speak at the fourth annual Shawnee County Teen Resiliency and Suicide Prevention event in Topeka, Kansas. And I was all excited to go out there and get everything rolling and help them in life. But guess what happened? COVID happened. So that kind of shot that in the foot.
Wow, I can see that. I think COVID 2020 sort of made us all pivot and adjust our plans for this year. So, how are you actually, tell us more about this book. Tell us what actually do you, I know you said you don't really do a full coaching program, but when you go out to do speaking gigs, I know you take your book. How do you reference this to just everyday life with kids?
Well, I talk about the things they have instead of what they don't have. It's like I have a friend named Nick Vujicic, and he's actually a mentor from afar because I really don't know him. I call him a friend because I've watched his videos so many times that he is like a friend. He is like a person in the family. But he was actually born with no arms, no legs. And he lives life to the fullest. He goes around speaking at schools, speaking at other places. In fact, he's one of the highest paid motivational speakers in the United States now, maybe in the world. But he has no arms and no legs. So if he can do that, what in the world is holding me back? What in the world are you letting hold you back right now? There's so much that you have that you just don't recognize because you've never had to go without it. And I think it's very important that we stop taking things for granted in life. And just like I was talking earlier about having arms, having legs, stop taking that for granted. You have those things. There's
Yes,
people
yes.
that don't. And just be thankful. And when you're so thankful for the things you have, you're not going to see the things you don't have, and then the things you do have are going to become more apparent, and you're going to start seeing that stuff more, and you're going to become more thankful, more grateful, and you're just going to have better days. And then when better days happen, better nights happen. When better days and better nights happen, then better weeks happen. When better weeks happen, better months happen. And guess what? After better months, better years. I also forgot to mention that I host a show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's called Make Every Second Count Live, and it's about helping you get from where you are going through what you are going through to where you want to be, where you're not going through something.
If you want to be seen, you have to stop being invisible to opportunity. I'm Kay Henry, licensed mental health counselor and host of Black Therapy Uncensored. Your prescription of positivity starts here.
Oh man, you guys, this has been such an awesome show. We're going to wrap up our interview with Jeff Marconette. And first of all, Jeff, I want you to Jeff has a little surprise for you listeners. He's going to give some things away, but before we do that, Jeff, why don't you tell people how they can get in contact with you? Your social media, website, phone numbers, email address, give them all of that info.
Well, I don't want them to have my phone number, but they can have other things. Like I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn as Jeff Marconette Jr., and that is JEFF. Marconette is MARCONETTE. Junior is JR. And make sure you put the junior on there, because if you don't, you'll probably get my dad, and then you'll be like, wow, this guy looks old. But then my website is actually jeffmarconettejr.com. So that's pretty easy. And I also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/C/Jeff Marconette Jr. And then I actually am going to be giving people the first week of my new journal. If you go to my website and sign up there for a free account, check it out. No strings attached. It's free. You just have to enter your email address and name and some other stuff, maybe. I'm not sure. But it's free. And you can read and participate in the first week of my journal. And then hopefully I can get either a written or a video testimonial from you about that first week of it. And other than that, I am not sure what to tell you.
Well, I will say this. All of Jeff's contact information will also be on our website. As you know, if you are a regular listener, we write articles about all of our guests on our website. So you can find all of Jeff's contact information on there, as well as in our group, the 10 Dimensions of Wellness on Facebook. We do post that article in that group so that it links back to our guests. Now, for Jeff, I want to first thank you for being on the show and giving us your time. But I have 4 more questions, and these are the questions that we ask all of our guests, and this is just some fun stuff. My first question is, what's been the biggest surprise you've had in the last few months?
In the last few months, let's see. You know, my last virtual event on Facebook, which was called Get Up and Be the Change, actually has over 7,000 views on it. And I think that was quite surprising. And I'm up to 170 subscribers on YouTube. So that's also quite surprising.
Well, congratulations for both of those accomplishments. I know that can be quite a feat, getting subscribers as well as getting viewerships on those videos. So, what do you wish you had known 10 years ago that you know now?
I wish I knew the lessons that I have developed. I do a speech called The 5 Lessons I Learned from My Near-Death Experience. And you can actually see that speech on YouTube. I give it live in Charlotte, North Carolina, in an event with Les Brown. And I go through those 5 lessons, but I wish I would know those 5 lessons 10 years ago that I have developed now through my mindset training and everything else that I have done.
Well, what inspires you and makes you feel like your best self?
Doing the simple things that people said I wouldn't be able to do. Just getting up and walking out that front door, or writing my name left-handed, which isn't too legible, or eating and drinking and just doing the things people told me I wouldn't be able to do. But it's just so important that we push and test our limits in life, because my friend Demetra Moore says that failure is a privilege reserved for those who try. And without trying, I wouldn't be anywhere right now.
Wow, those are powerful words. I actually like that quote. Okay, so if you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it say and why?
You know, this is a great question. And it's actually kind of funny too, because I was on a billboard. It was a billboard for my gym, Anytime Fitness in Piqua, Ohio. And it said on it that I had lost 30 pounds last year. And I was standing there and flexing, and I was all big in the sky and all kinds of stuff. And I thought it was nifty, because people would say all the time that, hey, I saw you on that billboard. That billboard looks great. You flex and makes me scared. And it's just nuts. But if I had my own billboard that said something that I think the world needs to hear right now, it would be that we're all people. Be people. We're all equal. Be equal.
I think that's awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your story with us again. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for just being an inspiring and motivating person. I am sure there are so many people out there that will hear this that I know your words will touch and change their lives. So thank you again.
I forgot to give you my email address that people can reach out to me at, and that is inspiredbyjeff@yahoo.com.
And it's spelled exactly how it sounds, you guys. Inspired by Jeff@yahoo.com. Well, Jeff, this is it for our interview. Thank you so much. Remember, everyone, you can listen to, download, comment, share this podcast from Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a plethora of other audio platforms. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, NRI Wellness, where you can listen to this and many of our past shows as well. Don't forget to jump into our group, the 10 Dimensions of Wellness, on Facebook for After the Podcast, where you can get in touch with many of our podcast guests. Some of our podcast guests even host shows and teach courses in the group as well. So thank you for listening to the 10 Dimensions of Wellness. This has been another dynamic episode. I am your host and the owner of NRI Wellness, Cammie Red. Have a great evening, you guys.
NRI Wellness brings you the latest health and nutrition information, creates customized nutrition programs, and walks you through the process to ensure your success.